All right, so we're gonna hop right into this seemingly meaningless topic. And as I do, I can already see it. Everyone kind of sitting there, glazed eyes, thinking about the lunch they're gonna have later on, wondering if they should take a little nap and maybe just bank on passing the quiz here pretty quick. I mean, why not? This has to be one of the most generically termed trainings out there. You've seen numerous articles shared by your insurance carrier, bulletins with pictures of the little cartoon character slipping on a banana, Windows clip art of safety yellow caution signs pasted all over the company newsletter, and the list of visuals goes on and on. So Jake, why are we covering slips, trips, and falls? I mean, is there really anything we can do about an impossible challenge to prevent all of the compilation-like YouTube bloopers that happen hundreds of times each day in the US workplace? Well, let me confidently say that literally every single one of these falls is in fact preventable. Do I think they're always easy to prevent? No. And do I firmly believe stopping them requires focus and intention? Yes, for sure. Do I think the nearly 25,000 injured and over 800 dead, no longer with us, no longer with their families, construction workers, wished they had the chance you have right now to pay attention and apply their knowledge? Yeah, I do. Do I believe that nearly 30,000 injured workers and more than 30 dead, wait for it, working in retail would have given anything to be in the seat you're in right now, talking about a seemingly impossible task, but wishing they had initiated the proper practices before it was too late? Yeah, I do. The 22,000 injured and 50 dead in manufacturing, the nearly 11,000 injured and over 20 dead can't provide for their families anymore in the wholesale trades, the near 25,000 injured in transportation and warehousing who now walk with a limp, who live with pain every single day, and they're 50 dead. The over 22,000 injured and over 100 dead in the professional and business services. The 44,000 injured and 20 dead in education and health services. Yes, I said education. And the 64,000 injured and nearly 50 dead in government. And by the way, all of this happens each and every year. 1 year, just repeating itself over and over again. All of this from one of the most preventable categories, but sadly believed to be impossible to stop. This is slips, trips, and falls, people. I hope I have your attention now.
It's incredible. In fact, I just asked, and Bruce just said they've got about 3 inches here in North Portland right now. I caught up with Chelsea and Michael, who were jogging by and were nice to just stop for a quick second. And I said, what are you doing running? And you're saying it was really good out?
It's the perfect texture for running. Very low impact on its dry snow so your feet don't get wet.
What have you seen while you've been out running?
It's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of other runners and more skiers than runners for sure. I think they've got a little bit of the advantage with the whole stride and glide thing, but it's too nice to not be out here.
Yeah, it's incredible, though, just to see even people still on their bicycles.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it with the bikes. Like braking, at least we can control, at worst case, we can just slide right through a stop sign and we'll be okay because we're pretty visible at night.
Did this surprise you, this snow?
This much of it, I think. When we woke up this morning, we were definitely surprised by how much there was. We were sort of joking that it was a nice dusting, but the reality is this is a real chunk of snow, giving Hood a run for its money.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, we're both California kids, so we haven't had many snow days in our lives, so this is pretty exciting.
All right, well, go ahead and keep on the run. I'm sorry to have kept you, but I appreciate you guys talking with us. All right, thanks. We've seen a lot of people out here, like you said, running, sledding, just enjoying it. One thing, oops, that could happen, unfortunately. Looks like Chelsea's okay. You okay? Yes, okay. It is slippery out here. There's no question about it.
Chelsea, Chelsea, Chelsea. I'm sorry that your fall went viral, but I'm also glad we have this perfect visual case study that shows a young, healthy couple doing what healthy couples do, going for a nice jog, but completely taking for granted the elements they're in. Admittedly, they're California kids who have little to no experience with snow and figured they could just get out there and, quote, slide through the areas that get slick. Now look, I don't fault these people for going out to enjoy God's beautiful creation. They have every right to go out and take these kinds of personal risks on their own time. That said, what I need you to understand is this. When you're at work, you don't get the same freedoms to do whatever you want. Your employer is governed by federal laws that require them to do everything in their power to identify hazards, train you on those known hazards, and then ensure you're doing everything you can to maintain a high standard of safety around any and all hazards. Because look, Let's go back to Chelsea for a second. When she fell at ground level, did it look like she had a light fall and was able to shake it off? Or did she do some damage to her back? Yeah, it didn't look good. And had there been something on the ground she could have hit her head on, like a curb or fire hydrant or the hood of a car, the mood of this conversation would be a little heavier because we may have been talking about a traumatic brain injury right now. And let me throw this at you. This young lady was thin, healthy, and probably pretty fit. Let's now take someone carrying an extra 50 to 100 pounds in their body, not nearly as fit, and then let's recreate that same scenario. What are the differences? Well, the impact to the ground may be greater, the injuries may be far more severe, and just as importantly, the ability to rehab that injury may be far more difficult and take a greater amount of time. This is where heavy workers' compensation costs come into play, broken bones, strains, sprains, and knee and hip replacements enter the picture. Partial or full disability is handed out. The ability to play with kids and grandkids is lessened. The ability to take part in hobbies outside of the daily grind come to a grinding halt. And all because most situations that create slips, trips, and falls weren't examined enough or weren't believed to be important enough to fix. Just like you can choose to go outside and run in the snow on your own time, you can also choose to assess every situation in your work environment for a possible slip, trip, or fall hazard. In fact, under the revised 1910 Walking Working Surfaces Standard, OSHA requires that all employers must conduct a walking working surfaces assessment to identify any and all possible fall hazards, come up with a plan to protect against those fall hazards, and then train the employees on the solutions, whether they be engineered or whether there are various types of tools, fall protection systems, or new pieces of equipment. Look, this one topic is technically a parent topic for several different types of trainings. In fact, I want to ensure you have, or will at a minimum, do the trainings on fall protection and ladder safety. Many of the common fall hazards are covered in these two really important topics, including everything you need to know about the safe use of ladders and even common exposures you may have to guardrails and handrails. So, that said, in the next section, I'm going to run through some of the most common types of slips, trips, and falls, and then provide you with the educational weapons of truth to combat your desire for dangerous shortcuts and leaving hazards lingering in your workplace. So if you read the actual OSHA standards on walking and working surfaces found in 1910 subpart D, there are only about 8 or so regulations that end up covering the entirety of this subject. I won't go through every one of them here, but generally speaking, if you see a hazard, even in conditions that are expected to be wet, there must be an intentional effort to either engineer out the hazard through things like creating designated dry standing places such as false floors, platforms, and mats, or doing away with whatever's creating the slick area in the first place. There are also mentions of identifying and correcting hazards such as sharp or protruding objects, loose boards, corrosion, leaks, spills, snow, and ice. Now listen, how many possible scenarios could you think of just in that short little sentence? Yes, literally hundreds, if not thousands of possible situations. And that's the point of this training, to get you thinking about the countless little scenarios you can face each day. And here's my hope, that you literally tell yourself, man, I shouldn't just walk past the spilled water in the break room. Jake convinced me that the risks to myself and my teammates are far too great, so I'm going to clean it up, or at a minimum, reach out to maintenance to get some help with the cleanup. Or how about the next time you're needing to change a light bulb? You look around and all you have is a swivel office chair with zero stability. Are you going to cave to the pressures of getting some meaningless task done that's not even close to the importance of your life, the quality of your life, and the ability to provide for your family? Listen, I'm serious. The next time you're at home and you're thinking about pulling over that little rocking chair instead of taking 5 minutes to get the appropriate ladder out of the garage, I expect you to stop. Take a picture of your intelligent choice to use a ladder and email me a pic of your success in that moment. Yes, I'm serious, because far too often, these are the pictures I get from friends. Yes, I know. All I can do is shake my head. But when you make those positive choices, they become the moments that literally create cultural change within your organization and also within your household. And we want to celebrate you seeing the hazard for what it is. Just one more thing trying to rob you of your health, your well-being, and the things you hold most precious in this life. All right, I could go on that tangent forever, but let's get back to a few more practical examples of what I'm talking about. Some other really common slip, trip, and fall hazards are poorly lit walkways and stairways. Now, does this mean you may need to invest in some new lights? Yes, it does. What about the term housekeeping? What does that mean to you? For some, it may bring back a triggered response of your mom telling you to clean your room every single day of high school. For others, you know we're talking about the way you store boxes and files in your office, the way you stage material in your shop. Shoot, the way you stage your entire shop, the way tools and equipment are scattered about, the way extension cords run randomly through cubicles, the way filing cabinets are left partially open, the hoses that are strewn across the floors in a haphazard way. All of those scenarios refer back to this general term we know as housekeeping. And guess what? It's an extremely important part of this topic. How you handle your housekeeping within your office, your job site, or your facility will tell everyone just how truly you value the important components of this subject we're training on today. Also, when we think about common fall hazards, you can't help but think of stairways that may have been constructed improperly, or openings in floors or ceilings that aren't guarded properly. Fixed ladders and stairwells are another common hazard we find in inspections because we'll see openings that have no cages or gates that lead straight down one of these bad boys. So, if someone isn't paying attention and happens to back into that area, they get a straight shot down 20 to 30 feet below. And we all know how those scenarios turn out. So please, more than anything, I'm asking you all to listen to what I'm saying here and then go assess the slip hazards you find, the trip hazards you find, and the fall hazards you find. I don't care how innocent it may seem to you or how comfortable you've become around certain hazards. And I'll say this again because it's worth repeating. If you shrug them off as not a big deal and you leave them waiting around long enough, they will come back to either steal your entire life itself or it will steal your quality of life through serious injury. But after you're done assessing these hazards, I want you to address them. I want you to add rugs and mats in wet, snowy, or icy areas. I want you to even take it a step further and add taped edges to the corners of these rugs to ensure the rug itself doesn't become a hazard. I want you to add lights where they should be. I want you to keep step ladders close and readily available to areas that need it most. I want you to clean up spills immediately and completely close off the area until it's dry. I want you to slow down and pay attention to where you're walking. I want you to wear shoes with better traction. I want you to get trained on the various types of fall protection you were required to use. And then I want you to use it. I want you to use handrails when you're coming downstairs. And yes, you can use Germ-X immediately after, but I still want you to do that. I want you to use the right ladder for the job. I want you to have ice melt ready for the winter season before the ice or snow hits. And I want all of these things for you. But guess what? You have to want it for yourself, and you have to do it for yourself. But you know what you don't have to do? You don't have to try and reinvent the wheel. We'll do everything we can to point you in the right direction for what you do within your organization as it relates to slips, trips, and falls. Listen, it's my hope that you take this subject seriously. I genuinely want the best for you and your teammates.